My name is Imran Haq and welcome to another episode of The Voice of a Leader, the series where I interview high-achieving leaders and try to find out how they got to where they are. I've had a number of interviews so far where people have told me that others should consider becoming entrepreneurs. One of the reasons for this is, as we progress more into the future, more and more jobs are becoming outsourced or automated. There are, of course, many other reasons for becoming an entrepreneur, which include you have the freedom to do what you want and you're in control of your destiny. This week I caught up with Nathan Murphy, who's a serial entrepreneur, and he's a founder and director of an organization called TribeGrowth. Nathan, welcome to The Voice of a Leader.
Thank you very much for having me, Imran.
When you were only 18, you were homeless for more than 2 months, which can be quite daunting at such a young age. How did you fall into that situation?
Yeah, it was unfortunate, but I actually look back on that experience quite with a sense of gratitude almost, because it taught me so much about how to survive and how lucky we are in Australia to have all the services and all the resources that we do have as a nation. I fell into that situation purely because I'd made a bad choice and I ended up having a bit of a falling out with my parents at the time. And as I'm sure a lot of teenagers go through when they're growing up, they're quite angry and opinionated. I just kind of had to fend for myself for a while. That's how I found myself in that situation. But it quickly taught me that I didn't really have too much to be afraid of when it comes to taking risks, because the worst thing that can happen to you in life, a lot of people might fear, is being homeless, being on the streets, being with nothing. And that happened to me, and I knew that I could come back from that now. So therefore, for me, it feels like the biggest risk is actually not taking the risk at all.
Do you think that if, say, you weren't ever homeless, would you see the world in a different perspective? Has it taught you other things like that, other skills?
Totally, I would see the world very, very differently. I think it's just given me that appetite for risk. If I have an idea, I don't feel the same sense of fear to go chase it. I say, why not? Let's actually try and do that. Whereas other people who haven't kind of maybe felt what it feels like to have nothing and to come back from that might feel a little bit more scared of losing what they already have. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, because it's not exactly the same, but because I'm from a third world country, and like you, I appreciate things much. Even though I haven't experienced it myself, you see, I'm from Bangladesh, lots of homeless people there, and then you come back here and you realize we're actually really privileged. You appreciate things more. So afterwards, you got in touch with the Salvation Army, and they gave you, I believe, crisis accommodation, and they enrolled you in a program called the Champion Program, and that, I believe, sort of led you to an organization called Audio High School. So can you tell me just briefly about the Champion Program and Audio High School?
Yeah, it all happened because I've been trying to live rough, I guess, for a little while, and I'd gone into a Salvation church to try and get a food voucher for a meal, and they said, look, just have a chat with our youth services minister whilst you're here, and he convinced me to go stay in some crisis accommodation whilst I got back on my feet. So I stayed there for a little while, and whilst I was there, they had a program running called Champions, which was basically a partnership between the Salvation Army and Virgin, whereby they would get young people experiencing homeless and senior staff from Virgin to kind of collaborate and come up with solutions to solve homelessness. But at the same time, whilst I was there, I was thinking maybe I could start a business, and I'd already had a business when I was in high school. And I thought, okay, I'm going to try and do it again now. I've got nothing to lose, literally. So that's where Audio High School came about. And the idea behind Audio High School was that 1.5 million high school students in Australia, every single one of them would take some kind of transport to get to school every day and have an MP3 playing device in their pocket, but they could only really read their learning material. There was no audio version of it, so I thought, why don't we produce an audio version of all the textbooks so students can learn on their way to school if they learn best auditorily as well. So that was that idea.
That's like online lectures, the university equivalent, something similar to that?
Yeah, it's kind of like before podcasts became popular.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So you're also working in an organization called TribeGrowth that helps businesses grow their social media, their followings around social media, build their audience. How did you actually go about, I know you have other businesses as well going on, but how did you go about setting up TribeGrowth?
So over the years, I think I've had more than 7 companies now.
Amazing.
And each time I've kind of had to teach myself the marketing side of it. How do I get customers? How do I build up an audience? How do I build up a brand? And each time I've done a different business, I've gotten better at doing it.
Yeah.
And I learned the techniques and methods that are required to build up a following on social fairly rapidly. And last year I was hunting around for a good business idea. Halfway through the year I'd gotten into this accelerator program in Melbourne called Angel Cube, and they gave me $40,000 and said, look, here's $40,000. We're going to take 8% of whatever you do with it.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead. And so it was quite crazy of them to trust me with that. I think it was came off the back of my pitching ability, perhaps. But they gave me that money and I started a small idea which didn't work out. So I switched it to TribeGrowth purely because I could see the business owners around me all had that same problem. Everyone kind of struggles when they're starting out to grow their brand, get customers over social media, build up those followers. So yeah, we started that business and it's been more than a year now. We've grown, we've got clients in more than 3 continents now. And yeah, it's a good little business, but it doesn't have all of my attention. I've tried to systemize it and outsource a lot of the day-to-day stuff.
So you also do some work with the Foundation for Young Australians. What type of work do you do there?
Yeah, I became very, very passionate about 2 to 3 years ago about the impact that I could have in the world in a non-profit way.
Sure.
So outside of my capitalist mindset and building startups and businesses day to day, I was like, what's the best social impact that I can have as an individual? And I realized that would be empowering young people with the same entrepreneurship skills that I've learned very slowly along the years.
Sure.
What's the way that I can deliver those same skills to young people as well, who can empower them to create their own job, to start their own business? So I've been trying to align myself with every organisation and different ideas that can see that happen. So I've worked with the Foundation for Young Australians to develop their pilot of the $20 Boss program, which was a program that's now had over 6,000 high school students across the country get a $20 loan and go through a 10-week course and start a business, and then they have to pay that $20 back for the next year of students. So it's a sustainable program. Working now to create some more kind of learning products in that market, and also have founded an organisation called Job Hack, which is a non-profit, and the idea is to run an annual entrepreneurship challenge online that is accessible to anyone in the world with an internet connection. And during that challenge, it happens in November, people will learn 7 practical skills of entrepreneurship to help them start their first business and create their own job.
I was going to say, so from an entrepreneur point of view, what kind of sources do you use? Say if you want to start a business and you don't have and you don't go to university, what sources do you go to? Like, do you just go to YouTube or something, or?
Yeah, I think there's a few ingredients, if you will, to the recipe of a successful entrepreneur, and especially the learning journey, because it's a journey, right? You can't just go from 0 to hero of entrepreneurship. You need to start off perhaps with just the basic fundamentals of seeing how the world works, like perhaps mental models you could call them. And I feel the best way to learn those is just through books. So a few books which have really influenced my thinking and helped me get to where I am would be Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that when I was like 16 years old.
Nice.
The 4-hour work week has helped me become very efficient and effective with my time. The Lean Startup has taught me how to rapidly test assumptions to make sure I'm solving the right problem. Influence has helped me has taught me how to sell and persuade people. Those are a few books that have been really, really useful. But then just as important as the books would be community. So something that really, really helped me was getting connected to my local startup community. I originally lived in Sydney, and I was one of the first residents at Fishburners, which was one of the first co-working spaces in Sydney.
Excellent.
And getting connected to that community really turbocharged my learning, my connections, my ability to ask people, investors, for funding, to pitch potential customers. And likewise, when I moved down to Melbourne about a year and a half ago, the first thing I did was get connected to the local entrepreneurial communities, such as at Inspire 9, and a few other organisations, just because surrounding yourself with people who are in entrepreneurship every single day, you'll just learn from them naturally.
Like-minded people.
Yeah. But I found the best way to learn above everything else is just trying to do something yourself. Like, you have no idea how to do a Facebook ad campaign, spend $100, do it yourself, and you'll start to learn very, very quickly. Yeah.
No, that's good advice. I was going to say, I have read before that, because you haven't been to university yourself, have you?
No, I haven't.
And you mentioned, I think, in this article that it can be detrimental if you want to be an entrepreneur, go to university. Is that right?
Yeah, I think university is very good at the theoretical side of knowledge,
Sure.
but they lack sometimes from the practical side of things. That is changing. There are university courses that teach entrepreneurship which have a very heavy practical side, which I applaud. But at the same time, a lot of the people that I know that have been through entrepreneurship courses in university in general don't necessarily have better capabilities than someone who's self-educated.
Because you're highlighting that, as you said, it's better to do like hands-on yourself in order to learn. I think that's a much better approach than reading books.
Yeah, I think you need a bit of both.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
the hands-on approach is basically project-based learning, which is one of the most effective ways to learn because you're forcing your brain to create those new neural pathways to do a task, right?
Sure, yeah.
Versus watching a lecturer talk at you for 60 minutes, you're actually forcing your brain to do something and to grow, right? So when you're doing that new task for the first time and it feels uncomfortable and you don't really like it, but at the end of it, you're like, oh, I now know how to X, design a brand, write sales copy, create a landing page, come up with a marketing strategy, figure out my next customer acquisition channel, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Excellent. Now, this is an interesting story I read. So at one point, I believe you had a number of businesses running and it was getting quite stressful. So you decided to fly to Thailand, which many Australians do.
Yeah.
But apparently you ran out of money, so you couldn't come back. And that actually led you to create another business. Is that right? So can you tell me about this?
Yeah.
Just in case I decide to run away to another country.
Like a lot of entrepreneurs, like I've gone through that up and down. It's a very emotionally intensive journey. When you're really up, you're really, really up.
Sure.
But when you're down, you're really, really down. And that was one of those times I was just juggling too many things at once. I didn't really know how to use my time. I wasn't in the best circumstances. And I was like, that's it, I'm out. I need to get out of here. Booked a one-way to Thailand.
Oh, it was a one-way?
Yeah, it was a one-way. I didn't have much money in the bank when I got there, but I'm quite spontaneous with these things. So anyways, I landed there. I had a great time, just relaxed and tried to recenter myself and recharge and read a few good books. And I realized that I didn't have enough money for the airplane ticket back home. Had too much pride really to ask anyone for a loan. Didn't really want to ask anyone for a loan. So I thought, okay, let's do this a bit more creatively. And I realized all the tourists around the little tourist center in Bangkok kind of all wanted the same thing, which was to learn like say 20 phrases in Thai that would really improve their experience of traveling through Thailand, like how to order a beer, how to say how much is that, how to say that costs too much. So just those kind of phrases, and we just offered a free language class. I met a local young Thai man through the hostel I was staying at. I just said, hey, let's run this class, we'll go 50-50. We printed out some like cheap little flyers to promote it and say, come along for free.
Yeah, good.
And donate at the end what you think it's worth. And we we did a little cheeky thing at the end of it whereby the first person to donate, I was a friend of mine, and I was like, donate the equivalent of $20. So that'll anchor the price for everyone else of what they think the class was worth. So that made sure that we got a substantial amount for the time. And we we asked some local monks if we could use their temple to host the class in, which made for a nice environment. And the last time I spoke to him about a year ago, that business is still running.
Excellent. So I was going to say, because I don't think outside the square a lot, or outside the box, so it's good to have some creativity, I guess. So do you still take a lot of trips overseas when things are getting too much for you?
Now not so much, because I've learned how to, I guess, better regulate my energy. I've kind of cut out a lot of things from my life which might have made it more up and down.
Sure.
So I'm more kind of even, but I still value getting away for the weekend
Very good. I was going to say, I'm sure a lot of people, including me, see you as a very inspirational entrepreneur. You've set up many businesses and successfully run them as well. What would you say a few words to some other people who would like to succeed as being an entrepreneur like you? Some words of advice?
I think you have to back yourself, really. That's like something to start off with. But then one of the most valuable lessons that you can try and learn as quickly as possible is to test assumptions. So to give you an example, like one of the first businesses that I spent like a year getting it ready before I launched it. And then I launched it and realized that I'd been wrong the whole way through about what I needed to build. And then the next business was maybe 6 months, and then 3 months. And then now I get to the point where, like, if there's an idea that we want to start, we'll try and get the minimum viable product, the MVP, live within a weekend. So we can test our most dangerous assumption so that we know that we're building something that people actually want. We want to get validation super, super quickly. So if you can build that habit into your process, then, and define what success is really quickly. Like if we get, 10 pre-sales of this product from this landing page without having the actual product, we'll just refund them if they actually order, then you know if you should continue. If you don't get those 10 pre-sales, then do not go spend $10,000 on ordering 1,000 units or whatever. You know what I mean?
Because you mentioned before that there are times where it's very, very low.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to someone in that position just to bounce back up again? What would you recommend to them? Like, what should they do?
Figure out what works for you to bring yourself back up to full, if you know what I mean. So take a look at the things that are maybe bringing you down in your life, whether it's people that you're surrounding yourself with, maybe it's certain habits that you have, maybe you drink too much, maybe you smoke too much, maybe you do illicit substances, maybe you are too stressed, you've got too much going on. Just really, really take a close look at what's going on in your life and then identify what you think are the triggers for you feeling that way and then try and remove them. Yeah, it sounds so simple and it's very hard to put into practice. It's taken me maybe 5 years to get better. I wouldn't say I'm where I want to be, but I'm getting better. Yeah.
What's your, short-term goal in the next few years? Do you want to set up more businesses or? For
the next 5 years, I'm actually dedicating myself to one main mission statement, which is to empower young people with entrepreneurship skills. So any way that I can make that happen is what I'm going to be doing. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day. I personally got a lot of good advice, and best of luck with all your projects.
No, thank you very much for having me on the show, man.
Thank you. Thank you again for watching another episode of The Voice of It Later. Very inspirational interview with Nathan. He had a lot of good points. One I really, really liked he mentioned, for anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur, is taking a big risk and also testing other theories. As he mentioned, at first it may take a long time to carry out this task, but over time you'll learn. Thank you once again for watching this episode. Remember, if you or someone you know is a high-achieving leader and would like to have an interview with me, please visit my website, ask 3 questions, and send an email to thevoiceofleader@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and like my Facebook page so you're kept up to date with the series. Thank you again for watching. See you next time.